The Middle East is home to a diverse range of indigenous peoples, many of whom have lived in the region for centuries. Indigenous peoples in the Middle East face many challenges, including displacement, marginalization, and lack of recognition. In recent years, their rights have become increasingly important as conflicts in the region have intensified. The Middle East is home to numerous indigenous peoples including the Kurds, the Bedouin, the Amazigh, and the Palestinians. These groups have a unique culture and heritage that has been threatened by the political and economic forces that have shaped the region in recent decades. Indigenous peoples in the Middle East are often displaced from their ancestral lands as a result of military action, civil war, and economic development. This displacement has had a devastating effect on indigenous communities, depriving them of their traditional lands and livelihoods. In addition, indigenous peoples in the Middle East are often marginalized and discriminated against in society. They are often denied access to basic services such as education, healthcare, and employment. The lack of recognition of indigenous rights in the Middle East has led to a lack of protection for indigenous peoples. This has resulted in a lack of access to justice and the continued marginalization of indigenous peoples in the region. In recent years, the international community has taken steps to recognize the rights of indigenous peoples in the Middle East. The United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, UNDRIP, was adopted in 2007 and has been ratified by most countries in the region. This declaration provides a framework for the protection and promotion of indigenous rights in the Middle East. In addition, the International Labour Organization, ILO, has adopted the ILO Convention 169, which recognizes the rights of indigenous peoples to self-determination, to their traditional lands, and to their own economic, social, and cultural development. This convention requires states to consult with indigenous peoples before taking any decisions that affect them. Despite these efforts, indigenous peoples in the Middle East continue to face numerous challenges. In order for their rights to be fully protected and respected, it is essential that governments in the region recognize and protect the rights of indigenous peoples. This includes ensuring that indigenous peoples are consulted in decisions that affect them, that their traditional lands are protected, and that they are allowed to access services and participate in decision-making processes. Furthermore, indigenous peoples in the Middle East should be able to participate in the political process and have their voices heard. In order to do this, governments must ensure that indigenous peoples are provided with the necessary resources and support to enable them to participate in decision-making processes. The protection and promotion of the rights of indigenous peoples in the Middle East is essential for the long-term stability and prosperity of the region. It is essential that governments in the region take concrete steps to ensure that the rights of indigenous peoples are respected and protected.